Hi, today on Gary's Urban Larder, I'm making an American classic, a German chocolate cake. And a few things have changed over time, including in this recipe. Well, let's get started. So, German chocolate cake. Is it German? No, it's not German. It's American. It gets its name from Samuel German, who was not German other than his surname, and he invented a chocolate, a sweet chocolate for bakers. Germans, with the apostrophe, sweet chocolate, and that was used to make German chocolate cake. In order to find a recipe for German chocolate cake, we have to jump more than 100 years from 1852, when Samuel German actually made German sweet chocolate, to Dallas, to a Mrs. George Clay, and the Dallas Morning News, who published her recipe, which made this cake popular throughout the United States. In fact, so popular, it was adopted by bakers and included in its packaging. So everyone had the recipe, everyone could recreate it. And although it's changed over the years, it's basically stayed true to its origins. Today, I've got a couple of twists. We're going to change it just a little bit to level it up. Okay, let's go through the ingredients. The first thing I've done is to melt our chocolate with our hot, strong black coffee, and I've let that cool. And I have a cup of room temperature buttermilk, 4 eggs. I've separated the yolks from the whites, 2 sticks of butter equal to 1 cup, and our flour, which I've sifted. This is cake flour. I've sifted that together with salt, baking soda, and cinnamon. And then we have our vanilla. So, no time to waste. We'll start by creaming together. Oh, and I do have sugar in this bowl. So we'll start by creaming together our butter with our sugar. Starting this off slowly, just to combine our butter and our sugar. I'll increase the speed gradually until we get that to a fluffy consistency. I'm using a paddle blade here. It just takes a few minutes. Really easy. And it's going really good now. And I'm just going to slow that down, and you can see how fluffy that is. So now we want to add our egg yolks one at a time. And we'll beat those in individually until we don't see any yellow. And then we'll add the next one. Couldn't be simpler. So I'll get these all combined, and then we'll add our melted chocolate. And I'm just going to drizzle that in slowly until that combines. Now don't worry if it starts to look a little bit grainy. That's perfectly fine. The next thing is to add our flour alternately with our buttermilk. So we're going to do the flour in thirds. So a third flour, half our buttermilk, the third flour, the remaining buttermilk, and then end with the flour. To do that, I'm just going to turn that off because I don't want a lot of flour flying around. So just take a third, roughly a third. You don't have to be so precise. Start it slowly. Increase it. And once you start to see the flour is incorporated, we add half our buttermilk. And once the liquid is combined into the batter, we will again, we're going to stop the machine and add another third of the flour. Increasing that when the flour is incorporated. And now the rest of our buttermilk. Just letting that mix until we don't see the liquid anymore. That's pretty good. And I'm going to add the remainder of our flour. And I'm just going to scrape down the sides before we give it our final mix. And that's so we can make sure we've got everything, all the ingredients well combined. And our oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 Celsius. And we do not want to overbeat it. So that is it. And next, we're going to take our egg whites and we're going to whip these until they're very stiff peak. Not dry, but very stiff. And to do that, I've got my cordless hand blender, a whisk, and just start that off slowly. Again, these whites are room temp. That helps them to whip to stiff peak. Just increase the speed gradually. And the point of this is to whip air into the eggs, which will then fold into our cake batter to give it a beautiful, moist, and delicious texture. Twist it a bit more as they start to turn white and full speed. Now I did notice our vanilla. I forgot to add our vanilla, which I'm going to do now. And you will find a link in the description box to my website, which has the full list of ingredients and method to follow. And it won't let you forget the vanilla. So I'm just going to combine that. Right, so our vanilla is combined. Back to whisking our whites. Okay, our whites are coming along. You can see that's a soft peak. So we want to beat it until it's stiffed, until they'll stand in a point. Now let's test it. That is what we want. A little more for good measure. Now we'll take this and we will fold it about a third at a time into our batter. That's about a third. And we just want to fold that in until we don't see any streaks of white. I'm getting right down to the bottom, again to make sure we don't have any dry ingredients that are hiding. And be careful, be gentle. Now that we whipped all that air into our egg whites, you don't want to whip it out. I'll just finish folding these egg whites into our batter, and then we'll add it to our grease and parchment lined 9-inch round cake tins. And we'll put those in our oven for 30 to 35 minutes or until the top just springs back when lightly touched. And this is a good thing to do with the wrapper of your butter. So it adds just the right amount in order for you to grease and line your pans. So I've got one more to do, and then we will add our batter. Now I have about 8 cups of batter, and what I like to do is to weigh it, but I don't have a scale here. So what I'm going to do is add a cup full to each and continue to do that until we have them all filled. Okay, I've got 2 cups worth in each of them. And for the last, I'm doing about 3/4 of a cup. which should equal out our tins, our pans, and the rest I will just scrape directly from the bowl into our tin. And that is it. Okay, gently swirl those so it spreads out. I don't want to tamp it because I don't want to lose any of that beautiful air. I think those are equal. What do you think? Let's get them in the oven. While our cakes are baking, we want to make our frosting. So in this pan, I have a cup and a half of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of unsalted butter, 4 egg yolks, and I'm going to add 12 ounces in this full can of evaporated milk. I'll put that on a medium heat, and I want to stir it constantly until it thickens. And once it thickens, we'll pull it from the heat and we will add our vanilla, our coconut, sweetened coconut, and last but not least, we'll add in our chopped pecans. Now, I'm not using toasted pecans. Some modern recipes suggest you toast the pecans. And if you like that, a more nutty, pronounced taste, then you should do that. But do be careful. They can burn easily. So I'm just going to let that all melt together. Keep stirring because we don't want our eggs to scramble. And this takes probably a good 8 to 10 minutes to come up and then start to reduce. So I'll just get on and finish this. You know, the interesting thing is the original recipe by Mrs. Clay of Dallas included whipping cream instead of evaporated milk. And I think that would make a much richer frosting, and I just might try that. It's really thickening up now. You see that? And that will start to actually pop little bubbles all across the surface. And that's when we know we're close to finishing. And you see those starting to pop. Almost a rolling boil. Keep stirring. Keep stirring. That's when you know it's nearly there. That's going to be delicious. Okay, that is all we need. Now we remove it from the heat, add in our vanilla, and fold in our coconut and pecans. We need about a teaspoon and a half of vanilla. That's good. See that the alcohol starts to cook off. And next we will stir in our sweetened coconut. In goes our coconut. End up being about 2.5 cups. And just remember, as this cools, it will thicken up. Again, the link to the recipe is in the description box. It'll take you directly to my website, garysurbanlarder.com. And now it's time for the pecans. And to your taste, I love pecans. Probably a little more than 1.25 cups. Just stir those in. That is our frosting finished. Now we wait for the cakes to come out of the oven, and for those to cool, and for this to cool, and then we'll assemble our cake. And we want these to cool in the pan for 10 minutes, and then we will turn them out onto the wire racks and let them cool completely. Our cakes have cooled completely, and I have my cake stand. We have our cooled frosting. And to decorate the top, I have some pecan halves and my trusty spatula. So we'll start the first one, and I'm just going to invert it. Turn it over and place that in the center of our stand and remove the parchment. I'm going to take roughly a third, this is a lesson in thirds today, of our frosting and push that onto that layer. I can use my spatula as well. And I just want to get that roughly to the edges. And I've got 20, so I can add a little more and make sure that's fully covered. And we want it to peek out a little bit at the edge. And I'll take the next one. I'll do the same thing. Remove the parchment and repeat. So another third of our frosting. This smells really wonderful. I'm just going to gently press that to the edges. And finally, our last one. Again, doing the same thing, and this one was a little uneven, so I'm going to try to compensate for that by just pressing it gently towards the front. And the remainder of our frosting. This is a very decadent cake. It is not for the faint of heart. It's the remainder of our frosting. Get that, and I'm just again going to press that towards the edges. Traditionally, you don't frost the sides. So now I'm going to just take some of our pecan halves and decorate the top. Now, if you don't have pecan halves, you can leave this step out, but it does add to the presentation. And that, my friends, is our cake. All right, I'm going to clean this up a little bit, just the stand, and then all that's left to do now is to taste it. Got quite a big knife. It's quite a big cake. So find the center. I'm going to go straight down and then out. Oh, it's a very moist cake. Out comes my knife. I'm going to try to get a thin slice. Without destroying it. First piece is always the most difficult. Let's see if we can get our cake. Oh my goodness, I left a little bit, but it's beautiful. So I have my fork that is really moist. And well, let's taste it. Are you ready? I know it sounds silly, but this is my favorite cake. Oh, it's so moist. Oh. Just want to make sure I get a pecan. That That is absolutely a winner. You can't go wrong. It really is beautiful. We've managed, with our little twist, the coffee and a just hint of cinnamon elevates that sweet chocolate flavor. And it's so well complemented by the frosting, that coconut pecan rich frosting. Well, thank you for joining me today at Gary's Urban Larder. If you enjoyed today's recipe, please give us a thumbs up. Remember, subscribe to the channel. It's free, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single delicious recipe. And finally, please share this video with your friends and help our community to grow. And if you see a hype button, please hype me. It helps the channel out. Well, until next time, bye-bye. I've got a cake to eat. Oh my gosh. I'm not sharing.